Ladies and gentlemen, welcome! My name is Dragon Job. I'm joined by Skim. We are bright and early, at least here for us in Berlin. It's about 2 AM, but we're ready to start with some NA Dota, and it's gonna be a good one. compLexity versus Leviathan in the semi-finals. The winner of this will move on to the grand finals to get a chance to punch a ticket to ESL One Genting.
Yeah, should be a good one. I mean, compLexity, pretty much one of the best teams in NA right now. You know, they've qualified for a variety of tournaments already. And Leviathan, well, you know, they're obviously still trying to punch their way into the established tier in NA. You know, there's a lot of potential in that squad. We have, of course, BSJ, you know, one of the more prolific players here, but also, you know, there's Garter from Europe, for example. You know, there's definitely talent in the squad.
Garter's my man, dude. Big fan of this guy. He's super nice and he's crazy talented. So, like for me, also knowing his wife, essentially, like it's pretty cool to see him like move up in the world, right? But it's worth noting, last couple of times these two teams met, compLexity always won 2-0. It's like a couple months ago last time it started, I believe. That was the last best of 3 on record.
Right.
And one thing we noticed as well before the match here, Tiny, been a staple for these two teams in the matches that they played in the round of 8. Both teams played that hero in both of their games.
Yeah, if you actually go through the history of the of their games, you can even see like even more heroes that overlap in terms of what they like playing, what they like prioritizing in the first phase as well. The Ogre comes to mind that Leviathan very much like in the first phase, but compLexity also, for Kyle, they like picking up those kind of, or they used to like picking up those kind of heroes. It's actually interesting to see compLexity sort of transitioning between sort of like what do we want to run on the supports. At the very beginning for Kyle, we had like these sort of like lane supports, a Silencer, the Warlock, those kind of heroes that had like a big ultimate that they would always be able to contribute with. And these days we're actually seeing a lot of sort of like roaming type initiating heroes. We've seen the Sand King, we've seen the we've seen the Sand King a couple of times, Earthshaker, those kind of heroes. But the Wyvern here, that is definitely Zefrig's hero, or most likely anyway, because he loves dominating on the hero. Transitioning into a carry with the Midas phase boots. So that is already pretty much 2 signature heroes for compLexity, really. We've seen Limp on that Tiny, of course, wreaking havoc, and Leviathan currently responding with a Rubik Elder Titan. Yeah,
it's certainly not the most common opener these days, at least from what we've seen in the other regions. And like, especially we were talking about the Rubik, about that hero can have an easy time just not doing anything because he relies so much on the rest of the game, right? He is very limited. Like, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it, but he has a very limited area where it can actually affect things.
Yeah,
right?
It's very easy to fall off on a Rubik, really. We've seen in the SEA qualifiers, I think most teams that drafted a Rubik actually lost. I think we've seen maybe 1 win with a Rubik in these past couple of days, and it's because the hero, it's just very easy to, as you said, it's just very easy to not do anything with the hero, especially when you fall behind. It's very difficult to sort of come back into the game and have impact as a Rubik. Yeah, in theory, hey, you can steal all the big spells, but when you fall behind, you don't really have the mobility items to actually help you. And also, paired with Elder Titan, that respects the question, what kind of roaming potential do they have? How much of a threat can they pose early on in comparison to whatever compLexity might pick up here? So that is something that I think going forward in this draft, compLexity might just look to exploit. Rubik Elder Titan, not necessarily like a really dangerous roaming combo, and potentially that just allows compLexity to pick some more daring lanes. But as I say that, Leviathan also pick a Sand King. That now sort of ties it actually together. If they wanted to, they could play a little bit aggressively in in the offlane together with the Sand King. There's definitely potential there. Obviously with the Spirit and with the Stomp, you have 2 setups in the Burst Strike and the Lift, so that's pretty nice.
Yeah. Even transitioning into the later parts of the game, you start to see the makings of this Wombo combo, right? You have Sand King with the initiation. Eventually, you have a Blink Dagger, or any other way that you find to start a fight. You can combo all of that up with the Elder Titan. And also the Rubik, like you have 2 ways of reducing that magic resistance and amping up your own magic damage, which could be an issue, especially for a hero like Tiny who, yeah, sure, he's tanky, but if you strap away these kind of defenses, like he doesn't have too much armor itself, so if Leviathan wants to complement their lineup right now with defensive physical damage, then they have plenty of ways to even kill him, even before he can start to turn things around with a big cleave or tosses or whatever Tinies do these days.
We now see the Tusk picked up by compLexity. That's also one of Kyle's heroes, but they're also very flexible with it. Actually, Mu has also taken a liking to the Tusk, of course, and that's one of the strengths of compLexity. It has always been for the past couple of months now. They can pick, you know, the first 3 heroes from compLexity are usually very difficult to tell you. All right, what are we gonna see here? Same with Jakiro and Nature's Prophet, right? They can play them on any position. Support Nature's Prophet, offlane Nature's Prophet, carry Nature's Prophet. Same with the Jakiro, and similar here with the Tusk, we have either a support Tusk or an offlane Tusk, and it just allows them to be very flexible in the draft. Which is why, you know, also in the first phase, we actually saw Team Leviathan ban out the Puck. Puck also one of those heroes that compLexity feel very comfortable with in a variety of positions, and it's just very annoying to draft again, man. If you draft against, if you can't really nail down, all right, is that going to be like an offlane Tusk, or is it just going to be a support one? It makes it very difficult to really ban against them. That said, though, there is going to be the next pick is likely going to make it a little bit more obvious, because they do like you know, saving either Limbs or Chessie heroes for the last pick. They rarely last pick Mu's hero. That said, well, in this matchup, depends if they want to have, say, like a Mu in a 1v1 lane against potentially the Sand King, then you might might take a couple more seconds to think about it, but generally speaking, you already kind of know your matchup, so there's no point in last picking it, right?
Yeah, pretty much, so. Nonetheless, they still take quite a few time off their reserve here to just think about how they want to round out that draft, because of course they have the pick here in the second phase, and then first pick in the last phase. I mean, they actually picked first pick after Leviathan got the Radiant. After winning the coin toss.
Dragon Knight.
And it's the Dragon Knight for now, so good pushing hero, like another tanky frontliner, right? Something that can withstand against the magic damage to some degree, just based on the based on region, but also a hero that's very comfortable building a BKB later down the line.
That's a good hero for now, for sure. There's not a lot of, how should I put it? Or especially since, you know, the Leviathan still has to pick that mid hero, of course, but DK just generally pretty well against most mids. He's very tanky, very difficult to bring down, also not that easy to gank. And again, Leviathan doesn't necessarily have that big of a threat in terms of, you know, ganking potential. Also for compLexity, they have 2 strength heroes right now. Heroes that build into armor items, which obviously doesn't get negated by the Elder Titan aura. So that is already, if you're compLexity, you already feel somewhat comfortable in this draft thus far. It would be a completely different story, you know, if they were definitely looking towards an agility carry, which they might not have to, because they already have 2 carry heroes. I think going for a 3rd carry would be a little bit greedy, so I expect something more team fight utility based.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna have to settle for something. They can't get the Brewmaster, it's been taken away by Leviathan, while compLexity just took the Tinker out of the pool. I believe that's something that Leviathan also ran against Leviathan Rejects, funnily enough. In their series. Yeah, when one game is Tinker, one game is Arc Warden, so I don't know. Would you see the Arc Warden come out here for Leviathan in this game as well?
It's not that bad, but it's also not that great. I think they have quite a little bit of catch here on the dire side. For compLexity, you know, you do have quite a bit of disable against that Arc Warden. Can hunt him down, and I'm not sure that laning stage would be that great for the Arc Warden. Actually, against Sniper, it's not that bad, but Sniper picked up here for compLexity. That puts the Tiny in the offlane, I suppose, as Mu's offlaner.
5 seconds.
I guess so, yeah. Sniper mid, DK safe lane?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Or are you thinking about running some weird dual lane?
Nah, I think that's how you want to lane it. They've done this safe lane DK before, if I remember correctly, and it just, you know, it allows you to take the tier 1 tower very quickly. DK safe lane is something that not a lot of teams usually like to run, because obviously he has his strength in the mid lane. But generally speaking, Sniper safe lane also doesn't do anything. He can't really threaten towers as well as the DK can. And DK can also just generally, you know, in 1v1 matchups, does fairly well in that safe lane. So I believe that should be it. They could consider running the Sniper safe lane, just because if they want to have the 1v1 in that lane and then they expect to be up against the Sand King, might want to consider that. But generally speaking, I think it would be safer to have the Sniper mid and then have a little bit more kill potential as well. If you have the Tusk and the Wyvern roaming around, right, the Sniper has a little bit more kill potential than the DK, because he doesn't really need to get in range as much as the DK does for, you know, nukes.
Yeah, the shrapnel's also super.
With the shards, trapping somebody in the shards and then shrapnel on top, it makes it very difficult for somebody to get out of there, and usually that does the job. And I think this is why Leviathan, if you're Leviathan, you're worrying or you're taking that much time about what you want to pick mid, because whatever you do pick mid, there's a lot of there are a lot of concerns when it comes to, you know, not only laning well against the sniper, but also being survivable enough to not die. And of course, I think they need a lot more damage going forward in this game. And it is the Arc Warden.
Yep.
Again, Arc Warden I think does fairly well against the sniper in a like pure 1v1 sense, but of course, when is it ever really a 1v1 mid?
Very rarely these days, that's for damn sure, but gotta picking that hero up.
Alright, it's actually a Mu DK. I've not seen that. I've not seen Mu in the DK.
Huh. Interesting. Alright. Yeah, well, let's actually try to get all the names together here for once, at the very least, to make sure that everyone's up to speed. Still don't have a ticket, so we don't quite have the competitive names. Think I can do Leviathan. Dog is Whitebeard. Squad Boys, Nusham, Sanking will be picked up by Hakuna Matata, which is Monkey's Forever. Of course, promo code equals BSJ, as should be known quite well. I don't know, I think people know about that, right?
Oh, I think that's a very common meme at this stage.
And of course, Garter on the Arc One.
Not even really, well, it is meme, but also, you know, it's actually a promo code.
Yeah.
If you go to certain online shops, you can actually enter that code. And on the dire side, we have Chassis Kyle tagged up. Properly, the Wyvern, aka Kill Me Now, is Z-Freak. Chaz It Up is Moo, and then Crazy Brazy is Limp on his signature sniper.
Alright, looking to get ready and into the game. Monkey's Forever just picked the Sanking up just now. So, here we are, game number 1 of a best-of-3 series. Once again, elimination time, as is the case with every game so far here. ESL One Genting Qualifiers. The winner moves on to the finals, the loser is out. It's as simple as that.
So I wonder how the Dire are going to lane this, and this is something that I think compLexity does really well, being very flexible with their lanes. You know, they don't mind rotating and having really crazy lane setups to make sure that they do get favorable lanes. I was thinking that maybe they leave the DK again solo in a solo matchup, and then they maybe be aggressive with the Tiny. There's a lot of potential there because they do, of course, you know, Tiny with the tree grab now can be very aggressive in lane. And you have 3 spells even to nuke down potential enemies.
Ro4 is very interesting smoke rotation. It's not the most common way to approach this. Sometimes most teams just, if they do this, they go around the right-hand side. They're not going towards the rune at all here. I mean, Juggernaut, you know, that's going to be safe and carry. Is always going to be able to spin out, really. Even out of the shards.
This is almost expected. Or well, no, this is definitely expected from Leviathan. You can see the Rubik, his positioning.
Yep.
He immediately dispelled the smoke from the Wyvern as well, and Wyvern knew, alright, he has to be at the tower. There's only really one position for him to be in, and that forces them back. There's no... It's a bit of time wasted, in a sense, you know. They obviously can't go for another kill anymore, so they have to fall back and likely gonna give up the rune top, yeah. Well, they're gonna contest bottom.
Begins. That's a classic 2-for-2 exchange after all, but talk to me about this early ward here behind the tower. It's not the most common to see this at minute 1, essentially. So is it just to try and protect against rotations up against the sniper? I mean, it's not the strongest rotating lineup anyway, so I mean that extra safety makes it super easier.
It pretty much goes both ways, really. Yeah, it is also just to scout out rotations, but also if you do want to gank the Arc Warden like ever, this ward gives you information whether or not somebody's behind him. It also gives you information whether somebody's stacking, and you know, if you do manage to zone at the Arc Warden at some point, this is the spot where he would be to just fall back, right, and farm the camps. We see that on the Radiant side, mid heroes are able to farm those camps in between waves, and if you ever want to touch him, if you ever want to gank him, that's why you would like to run it.
Yeah.
So the laning stage, the way it is working out, it is a DK Tusk dual off lane, and the Tiny just sitting in the safe lane. Turns out to be quite an okay lane, actually, or a laning stage, actually, for compLexity.
Yeah. So far, Elder Titan sitting in the trees before he makes his presence known. It's not really a strategy that's super viable, especially Tiny with this high amount of base damage. You should always be able to deny if you're completely uncontested. But at the same time, you have to be careful not to get tossed back into something. if you're up against this hero, but now Monkey Sniper joining in on the Sand King to turn this into a bit of a duel lane.
Mid lane now, Kyle is positioning himself. He wants to go for something here, maybe a shard just harassing. I don't think they really have the kill potential just yet, just because Kyle is only level 1 still. But this is also why this ward is really good. Like, Kyle knows that he can just sit here because there's nobody else around, right?
Yep. Shots coming through. I don't think he's hitting anything. Maybe he was trying to, but now with the shrapnel slowing down Garda quite a bit. No TP rotation just yet. Down to half health. How far can they actually take this? Garda just turning around to right click, realizing, hey, I can actually potentially win this fight here. Throwing in a couple of extra spells. Spark Wave holding onto the man for now. But not being bullied out of the lane, completely holding onto the salve and now using that to get back up to full.
Wyvern coming in now, though. Now they have the kill potential. So Kyle is level 2, so they can snowball in with the Wyvern if they want to. And, of course, Wyvern also being level 2, that adds the burst damage with a Splinter Blast on top. But it's a bit of awkward timing, especially since ET did scout out Kyle. So, shouldn't be a kill unless Garda, you know, missed it. Well, actually, with the haste.
With the haste rune, yeah. I mean, Garda was sticking around inside the lane for a little bit too long, but now shots missing a little bit. He is? Okay, he's gonna get it too, but will he die to this? I mean, with the extra damage from the Spirit. Yeah, first blood, drawn by Garda with the damage over time. Such a crazy good spell, the Flux.
It really is.
So much damage.
Was there something on the career? Well, we can't really check, right? But I'm wondering if there's something, or if there was something on the career.
No, I don't think there was. I think, yeah, look at Garda, he got the wand. So
right, no, you actually
assume it has delivered his items, or its items.
Well, it's not that bad of a trade, really, for either team. Yeah, they get the first blood, they give it to the Arc Warden as well. But at the same time, of course, you prevent the Korea from being able to ship out anything to Garda. So expect him to sit here in lane for the next 2 minutes with like 1,000 gold in his pockets without being able to buy anything.
Well, top lane. Been tanking with the Scots Finale. It's pretty annoying for any melee hero to say the least. Like even a tiny, you can grab the tree, you have that a bit of extra range, but most of the time you will still have to try and avoid taking damage if you can help it. It makes it a little bit more tough to last hit, but at the same time on the other offlane, this DK is actually just jazzing it up, I guess. Doing very well up against BSJ here on the Juggernaut, just pretty much because of brief fire spam probably, right? Just reducing the base damage.
Yeah, but in general it's just very annoying to last it against the DK. You can't really harass him out of the lane. How? How would you do that as a Juggernaut, right? And, even as a Rubik, being able to... you can't really zone him out. And now that he's Soul Ring, it's virtually impossible, really.
Soul Ring, movement speed, not really advantage, but still, like, even 2 points off on spin on other lanes, you'd say, hey, yeah, lift into spin, some extra damage and whatnot. Should be enough to even get killed sometimes, but not up against the DK with his high health pool, and of course also that region from Dragon's Blood. Meanwhile, up top though, okay. Trevor gets the toss here from Kyle. They still have the shots available. Snowball if necessary. Ro4 trying to do what he can, but it's literally nothing here. He went for the natural order before the Stomp, actually.
Yeah, but even with the Storm, I'm not sure they would have really been able to prevent it. Technically speaking, Limp could have even rotated, you know, sort of like sandwich him in there, but Limp realizing there's no need for him to be there, so rather just stay in mid and continue farming. He's out farming the Arc Warden, but not by really a lot. This is very much to be expected. Sniper, again, does pretty well in these kind of matchups, and Arc Warden can't really harass him as much as other heroes, just because of the range difference. So the CS advantage for Limp is to be expected. And the lanes, again, I think this is something that compLexity sort of wanted out of the laning stage. Maybe when they wanted to kill more on Arc Warden because they had positioned themselves properly in this mid lane and they had that one ward up there. But yeah, they have to be just happy with what they've gotten thus far, I guess.
Sanking hanging around as soon as Sniper maybe isolates himself a little bit more, so Spark Race can in. Maybe they can try and go for something, but
TP even coming in here from the Rubik.
Yeah.
The ward also or not just, but the ward also ran out behind the T1 tower, I believe. So the Sniper wouldn't even see this coming in. So if they set up with a burst strike, this could be a kill. But yeah, Sniper knows this is happening. I'm not sure he can prevent it, though, or he can survive this, though.
Extra damage, Spark Ray is going to connect here. A few right clicks, and White Gear coming in just to make sure with the extra zap.
From Garda's movement, he knew that something was up, but obviously he didn't know that the Sand King actually had an Invis rune and that he was already sitting on top of the Sniper. Bit unfortunate for him, but also just really good play from Leviathan.
He's actually just dead. picked up the bounty rune, I believe. Yeah, he picked up the bounty rune, then walked back down into the Sanking, rotating back towards the top lane at half health. Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
Yep. But again, if you're compLexity, you're not too worried about this early game thus far.
Yeah.
Still doing well on all the cores, pretty much. And the Wyvern is just soaking up, just happily soaking up XP.
No.
It's just at some point you have to, you do want to disrupt the Arc Warden's game at some point, because you can't just give him a free lane like this.
Trying to do some spin damage to the Dragon Knights, expiring now, but they lift him back away from the Creep Wave, so the Omni Slashers will all connect, and that'll just barely put him over the edge. Wyvern and Kyle also rotating in here. The healing ward comes through behind the shards. Snowball across here. BSJ needs a micro hit, and he does. Still alive now. Squad Boy and Dog looking to try and turn this around onto the Tusk itself. Kyle, now he's the one on the run. Will be lifted up back into a stomp, and well, what you were talking about earlier.
Bit of a miscommunication, or not miscommunication, just a bit of a... It's not even a misplay, it's just very unfortunate because Splinter Blast doesn't connect there. Yeah. If it does, maybe the Juggernaut dies.
You got very close for sure.
But yeah, a bit potentially also overzealous from them to think that they could go for that kill with just the two supports. They would have had to line up those skills perfectly, and they didn't do that. But now Moo, with that first death, he TPs to the mid lane and immediately transitions into a tower push.
Yeah.
That's what the DK needs to do, especially if it is an offlane DK. Can't really just spend the
coming
time
in, lift into Stomp again, not actually connecting, just zoning him out, zoning Sniper out, I guess, and well, gotta his own level 6. You have that extra set of spells from your clone. Makes it actually very easy here, or at least it looks very easy here to actually bring down this Dragon Knight here, despite his 3 points up from Dragonlad.
I'm not sure why he did this, or why he was played so aggressively as the DK. They don't really have any good vision, really, to back that up. Right? They don't have the vision behind the tier 1 tower, or even around the area whatsoever, so they didn't really see the support rotations at all. Getting caught out here yet again, and again, this basically comes down to vision. And there's also the first Dragon Knight ultimate expended. Kind of sucks. Usually with that, you want to deal more damage. He did already deal a little bit of damage, right?
So yeah, 700 points, but like if
that's not for the
it's not ideal, right?
Actually, less than that because some of it is from the sniper from earlier.
Oh, yeah, okay. Good. I don't know. Overall, though, Leviathan is also doing quite well. I mean, as much as compLexity is on the right path, so is Leviathan, right? You have Garter, who's not really been killed at all, or pressured at all, really. He's had to play defensively, sure, but he's still getting his last hits. He is getting these extra kills to buff him up, and going towards that Midas is gonna find a decent timing with it. And that's the point where the timer starts ticking for the Arc One, right?
Pretty much. Once we see that Midas coming out, that's gonna be where Arc Warden is gonna...
Look at this. Smoke rotation here with BSJ. He does have the Omni Slash available, but, well, there's a couple of creeps around here as Lim gets the neutrals across. Still trying to go for the Stomp, will not quite connect, unfortunately.
Good attempt, though.
Good turn on potentially here. Healing Ward already out and spins out the extra damage. Meanwhile, Tusk, Kyle ends up dying in mid. Solo to Gata. No, never mind. No. There's plenty of support in this general area, and they're continuing. There's the Stomp. This time it will connect. And BSJ, he wants to get close, but he's so slow through Shrapnel, but still gets the Omni Slash off. On level 1, not quite enough to finish the job. Now,
that's a dead BSJ.
Move extension does have another spin, but he cannot get out here. The shot's blocking him in perfectly. Up against 3 heroes, and the rest of his team abandoning him.
Bottom tower has
a little bit too deep.
I have to applaud the support, or the rotations from the supports on Leviathan side, really. It's really impressive how they're managing to sort of like slip through the cracks on compLexity side. And again, compLexity, they don't really have any good vision. They have one ward on the bottom lane, which allowed the DK to play a little bit more aggressively down here, and he did take the tower.
Yep.
But they don't have control over half of the map, and this is a really important half, right? Part of their own jungle, the part between the mid and the top lane, they don't really have any control here, and that's why this rotation was so successful in Leviathan. I say successful even though BSJ died, but you still make your presence felt. And BSJ technically shouldn't have died, but he was really, really greedy with that kill.
I mean, they initially went in there, like, with the smoke rotation between the Elder Titan and the Juggernaut. Like, they went in with the expectation, alright, we're gonna stomp somebody, then we're gonna Omni Slash, and it's all gonna be great. But didn't work out initially, and then they still found the stomp. They thought, okay, maybe now's the time, but ultimately wasn't quite enough. They didn't do the math correctly. But Kyle, what the hell?
Kyle dying.
Caught out
trying
again.
To, I believe, I'm not actually sure what he's doing.
Isn't he warding?
There's
Like,
no warning, yeah. I mean, to be fair, you know, when he died earlier, he was trying to help his team, trying to come in from the back
actually,
line.
I think he did plop down this ward.
That warning? Oh yeah, there must have been.
It's pretty fresh at least.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Alright. That is
But,
gonna help DK roaming in. He does see Whitebeard, but in turn Whitebeard does see him, so...
Yeah, they want this tier 1 tower. Against Arc Warden, you need to take as much map control early on as you can, but it's not really that easy.
Going to him here. DK ultimate committed, but there's plenty of heroes around for the Radiant side. Or are they?
Snowball stolen as well.
Snowball cross here, and that's the actual Snowball coming through. Nice little double burst strike though. Epicenter being channeled up, but stunned just in the nick of time. Dragonite still very much alive, but only just. He needs to stay close to teammates. If Lux doesn't finish him.
Hug them. Hug them.
Yeah. Sparkwave tanked up by the
and
sniper
he still has
too.
half of his dragon form left, so he can just continue pushing the T1 tower as well.
Yeah.
Really good rotation from them. Basically, Mu just walking in, trying to attract as much attention as possible, and you know, just making sure they use all the spells onto him, and then they come in with the 2 supports and with the Limb Sniper. Yeah. Pretty good play from them. Everything also just creating space for the Tiny up top. And suddenly Mu's actually the top of the net worth.
Assassination here, Ruby's gonna take quite a lot of damage, but now turning around, lift into the storm. There's also an Invis Dragonite here for the time being, but still focusing on the Wyvern. Does die despite the Winter's Curse. And BSJ will just repair whatever damage they did instantly with that healing ward. But yeah, we're talking about Tiny, right? Jesse, he's been left to his own devices here for the longest time, especially with these rotations from the Sand King. Can finally catch up, and that's exactly what he did. Like, he was never really that far behind in the first place, so now he claimed the top net worth himself. Very close still to Mu. So, yeah, he's going straight for the Shadow Blade, and I imagine that's when he's gonna want to start to rotate around himself, right? Trying to find some kills. Especially with this kind of skill build too. You have the Avalanche Toss instead of the Tree Grab maxed.
He probably should, definitely. Together with the, you know, with the supports, there's a lot of kill potential for sure. His combo is pretty strong actually. In Arc Warden, I mean, he's technically only sitting in 1.3k HP. It's not a lot if you know, got Avalanche Toss, Snowball, Shards. It sounds like a dead Arc Warden to me. Yeah. But Arc Warden does have the Midas, which has had it for a while now, and is working towards the Maelstrom. This is where the time starts, or when the clock starts ticking. Yeah. It's not that bad, because again, for the next 10-15 minutes, it's still very easy to kill the Arc Warden. Just because, you know, he doesn't really build into defensive items. I guess Shadow Blade is the most defensive item that I can think of that he's going to build in. I guess, right. And he's going to try to play defensive, but again, the Dire side have good catch potential. The Snowball Shards, you know, for the vision. They have the Wyvern that could also provide vision with the Arctic Burn. They have the Toss if they need like a blink initiation effectively. So yep. There's a lot of ways to, you know, get vision across the map and make sure that you get that Arc Warden. So that's not really the issue. The issue is whether or not that kid hit those timings. Well,
they actually find the Stomp into the Earth Split onto the Dragonite. Pretty effective against that. Here, Dragonite back with the lift. And alright, again, one of these situations where it's like, why is he caught out there?
But this is once again a little bit unfortunate because they don't have the vision. And this is also this comes down to also the Radiant just the warding. They now dewarded 2 wards that compLexity planted around the mid lane. So they currently just lost control of this portion of the map, and I think this is how Leviathan have to play. I mean, I mentioned how important this T1 mid is. It just allows them to play this, not necessarily greedy, but it just, you know, provides safety for Goddard to just farm on the Arc Warden. Yep. And if you're compLexity, you desperately want this T1 tower because that gives you access to the jungle, or even more access to the jungle rather. But again, Leviathan doing a really good job.
It's an interesting way to farm Ancients.
With the shards,
just shard blocked them away. I haven't seen that before.
compLexity always comes up with these kind of things. Remember the Axe Arc Warden, not Arc Warden, Winter Wyvern thing?
With the Wyvern with Axe. Yeah. That is a smoked up blink forward here, shown up by Sand King for the first time. They find the sniper. It's a pretty good one. They can actually finish it, but once again, the Epicenter cancelled before it can come out, and as a result, Russell's team actually held up. The Omni Slash tanked up on the Tusk. The Snowball comes out though to cancel its Whitebeard. Sand King, Monk's Fervor will not end up surviving this one. The spin still coming through, but offset by the heals from the Winter Wyvern.
Jesse coming in.
2-4 trade Garden ended up falling in the middle of that too, so Leviathan have to call out the full-on retreat. But Elder Titan will not survive that track.
Yeah, it was a really good attempt there with the sniper, trying to pick him off. Like you mentioned, you know, it's the first first showing of that Blink Dagger, but unfortunately they just don't have enough damage.
If you got the epicenter off, that would have been great. But
it would have, yeah, it would have been. But the positioning from you know the Winter Wyvern was pretty good, and then the rotations were really good as well. They used the Omni Slash onto the Sand King, or onto the Tusk,
I believe, yeah, and he got like 2 or 3 slashes off, but then Stalwart came out. Yeah. So that was a bit of a waste because it's still level 1, so I guess it's not too much of a waste.
Really important rotation also from Chessie, finding that solo kill into Garter as well, onto the Arc Warden. And that just comes back to what we talked about earlier. Arc Warden, still very squishy, pretty much food to this Chessie combo, really, until Arc Warden has, even the Shadow Blade helps him because it at least forces Chessie to have Dust on it, right?
Yeah.
So Arc Warden has to be careful from here on out. But again, it's going to take some time for compLexity to really come online on all of these heroes to be able to roam around and actually find that and pressure that Arc Warden. That said, they do have a Blink on the DK, so it makes it a little bit easier. Blink initiation on the DK, and also they have the Shadow Blade on the Tiny.
Yeah. Who just picked that up, I believe. So it's hiding in trees, looking to try and counter-initiate, but for now, Blink sees the Glimmer Cape and Winter Wyvern, but as if he's still in a bit of trouble here, isn't he? Someone's connecting, couple
so
of
Winter's
right
Curse
clicks,
available if you wanted to.
Yeah, that is just to try and keep him away.
As well, I believe. Yep.
Yep, he has it. Gonna be super useful. He's still gonna fall eventually. He's gonna buy as much time as he can. Yeah, he is, and even forcing out yet another ultimate. It's Nusham fearing that maybe there was some sort of counter initiation coming, so he threw that out just his own. But at the same time, look at the other side of the map. Chessie, he has a catapult with him. He's doing a bit of damage to tier 2. Just forcing a rotation there. Only one hero so far. Winter's goes to keep the Tusk in place, into the lift, into the burst strike, into the stomp, and stacking that a little bit, but Kyle will not be able to outplay his way out of that particular situation.
I feel like compLexity, you know, Zephyr pulled out a huge play, honestly. He wastes, what, 20 seconds of Leviathan's time, and it was like 4 or 5 heroes committed to all of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, Chessie pushes out the bottom lane, but he's not, I mean, he didn't really commit to that push either. Sniper was just farming in the jungle. DK was just sitting in the tree lane, just basically waiting for something to happen. I feel like they could have potentially gotten more out of that scenario, you know. That was a noble sacrifice from Zephyr, but they didn't really make too much out of it. I guess you could argue, yeah, Sniper was farming, but he could have potentially pushed out the mid lane as well.
Yeah. That's one of these things with, like, you make the judgment call, and then you look at it, and then you can do all the math that in the world. Like, maybe it's better, maybe it's not as efficient as it could have been. But at the end of the day, at least you don't really lose a crazy amount.
Yeah, they didn't even lose the tower. Yeah. I think Leviathan just realized they wasted way too much time on this Arc Warden, on this Winter Wyvern, and they don't really have that good of a tower push either. I mean, yeah, you have Juggernaut and Arc Warden, but they don't really hit towers as hard, you know, as the DK and Tiny do. So that is something they have to look towards in the future, because they haven't taken a single tower yet.
Yeah. Spending even more time in the top lane here. They grouping up, waiting for BSJ to come. Smoke up as 4 here. At least feels like they want to, but they've been holding on to it for so long here on the Elder Titan.
Right now it's difficult to play if you're Leviathan. You don't really have any vision on anybody. The only one that's been showing has been Arc Warden. I keep saying Arc Warden, even though I mean Winter Wyvern. The only one that keeps showing is the Winter Wyvern up top, and you don't really have any info on anybody else, and that's very dangerous. And
Arc Warden, though, that's a real one. Chessie is looking for him. Garter in a lot of trouble, especially with the ESL Destination, the Snowball coming in. Rotation is there. BSJ with a complete level 2 Omni Slash, but it is a big tanky Tiny trying to TP out, but follow-up rotation there from Michael Forever. Finally going to secure that kill. So 1-for-1 trade in that sense. Pretty decent. Both of them are the highest net worth on their teams, respectively.
Yep, very good kill, or very good revenge frag, if you will.
Yeah,
a little bit of CS terminology here. But
is it really revenge frag?
Yeah, revenge frag is something you use in CS. You know, somebody goes in, dies, but then you at least kill the guy that killed him. So, top lane though, that should be another tower, and I don't think they're gonna get a revenge frag if they do kill the Rubik here.
I guess it's shown to refrag, right? Because that's what I remember, but they're just gonna walk in.
Maybe, yeah.
I heard refrag, I think. Maybe that's what you were describing.
Don't even need to commit the dragon form for this.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Spirit coming in.
Catches both of them. The ultimates here onto the Dragon Knight. Follow-up stun. That's a lot of crazy damage, especially with Gala coming in. He'll be the one to secure the kill. Dragon Knight, with the help of that percentage-based damage on the Earth Split, it just is so crucial of making sure that that you can bring that hero down very quickly.
They did get a revenge track.
They did.
Yeah, they really did. Let's see if they can... Again, they haven't taken... actually, no, they did take the mid tower. But can they take this top tower? That's going to be an important run, right? When you talk about really important tier 1s, the top one is, of course, also very important because it gives you access to the jungle. But it looks like they want to do the wraparound first and try and get a pick off. They do have good vision here behind the tower. They really should be able to set them up, but... Alright, no. They're looking for something else, I guess? No?
Yeah, they're
not going to see anybody mid.
Somebody in mid to
sucks to be
eventually respond to this. I mean, again, spending a lot of time. But I guess it's complexity, right? I mean,
this is a very similar movement to what complexity just did, though.
Yeah.
You know, you invade the enemy jungle with a smoke, and you plant a couple of aggressive wards, and then see if you maybe can transition that into a pickoff. So a very good movement here coming out for them. Unfortunately for them, they don't get a pickoff. You know, earlier we saw the tiny picking of the Arc Warden. But now it's complexity's time again to go for a smoke. Do they have any good vision to set it up? I believe they just see the Elder Titan in the jungle. They see the Rubik, of course, but yeah, they're not going to find anybody. This is going to take way too long for them to rotate to.
Good game sense as well here. Sand King, only one left in his top lane, immediately TPing out to the rest of his team.
That sentry's just out of range of that ward.
Yeah, they've all been scattered out here. So it does mean the only smoking that you actually able to pull off is smoking in the tower if the Gada was defending it with his clones.
It's just very awkward for both teams, really. Nobody wants to show first because it kind of... The one who shows first is going to open up the map for anybody else, or for the other team, really. And it... Oh, bottom lane. This could be a really good pickoff. I believe they saw it, though. I believe they... they did see him. They did see him use the Shadow Blade. Yeah.
Dire's bottom tower has been denied.
Right. Bottom tower's been denied actually, so no extra money there for Leviathan. At the same time, Dragon Knight's up top with his supports behind him in case he gets gone on, but he's just chipping away this tier 2 already. Leviathan only now starting their own push down on the other side of the map.
Sand King is TPing
in front of here.
Fallen.
Deep in as well from Arc 1. Blinks galore, still catch him here. Dragon Knight though, after that, after the lockdown has been expanded, just straight up TP.
Bottom lane, the Juggernaut might not be so lucky.
Jesse coming through here, double combo 2 heroes, but Squad Boy still gets a couple of spells off. Stomp will be cancelled, and now promo code still with a couple of spins, but he has to try to use it to get out. Got already lost his clone. A toss here from Dragon Knight into a stun, into the assassination. BSJ ends up dropping in. Dog, Whitebeard might be next on the list. You're trying to juke and jive, but Jesse is keeping tabs on him with the invis. Easy avalanche into the trees. 3 hits.
Oh, in the mid lane though, Kyle might not...
One by one.
Oh, he falls to the Sand King and the Arc Warden. Good rotation from complexity, realizing, you know, they see the TP from the Sand King, from the Arc Warden, so they know, all right, we can just hunt these people down. They, of course, their catch and their initiation is a little bit more... It's a little bit easier in a way, you know, you just blink in, or blink and stun from the DK, you Shadow Blade in Avalanche, and there's a lot of burst damage, whereas on the Radiant side, the burst, there's not that much burst damage really on them, right? They have the Blink Burrow, and then they have to sort of like follow it up with like a Echo Stomp, and then the ET Split.
Yeah.
That's effectively their damage. The only burst really comes from the Omni Slash, but they haven't really used BSJ too much. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, they did try to go for that smoke in the jungle at the very beginning, but that's been about it. So for them, it's not really easy to go for those like just quick pickoffs. But as I say that...
I mean, he also hasn't really itemized sword side, right? He went for the Battlefield and is now going... has a Cathedral Yasha, and that does have a Shadow Amulet.
Oh, that's the real Arc Warden top.
Ooh, Blink stun, Kala's there, ready for the follow-up, stacking chaining that properly. But the Stomp is there. Gada still locked into the ice shots. Now Sniper taking over. Nice little 4-staff away. Just in the nick of time. Isn't going to be enough though. Karl lifted up, but DK inside the magnetic field to win the score. Actually keeping Gada safe for the time being with the healing ward, getting them all up and running. Sand King blocked here from blinking by the Winter Wyvern on the side. Now they're starting to nuke a few people down. 3 on the sidelines. Gada survives, but what cost? Assassination. Snowball still actually following him here. I might have spoken too soon. One more right click will do the trick. Just like that. 4 heroes on the sidelines. They've already claimed the tier 2 tower a little bit earlier, and well, Dragon Form still a little bit of time left, and well, just scrambling to help out. But even without that, you have a catapult, you have the big old tiny, you can start tossing and just punching a tower of trees.
If you're a Leviathan, you're very worried. the team fighting is, if anything, is kind of your bread and butter, right? You have the ET, you have the Sand King. That's sort of where you want to thrive, even with or without the Arc Warden. That's sort of where you want to be able to take fights, at least trade somewhat. But they're not even trading; they're just losing their lives because everybody in complexity is damn tanky. They don't really have enough burst damage, and they also, I don't know, it's just also bad positioning from everybody. Or not from everybody, but it's just bad positioning here and there, and it just sort of snowballs into really bad teamfight outcome. Garter, after getting saved by that ET Storm, instead of just running away, he stays with them, you know, it's like, oh, maybe we can fight this, and then almost dies instantly by the sniper. If he just falls back a little bit, maybe gives the Sand King time to come in, maybe that's a completely different fight, but...
At the same time, like, I don't want to take anything away from complexity because one of the reasons they won that fight is because Sand King couldn't blink in with the epicenter after the Winter's Curse. Like, that healing was going, so the Winter's Curse actually helped Garda survive there initially. But then, Zivik, he cancelled the blink. He was keeping Monkeys Forever busy, but now, well, BKB showing off the Dragon Knight. Still be zapped back, but now... spin TP will still be cancelled by the Winter's Curse, and now we continue to take the fight. Garda with the Scorn on front lines, but initiation on Zelda Titan. There's the Omni Slasher doing a good amount of damage, but the Cold Embrace coming in just in time. The Healing Ward trying to do what it can. Snowball across. Kyle is slowing down BSJ, and they're punching him into the air. Now the toss across. They're just not stopping. One by one, they drop whenever Leviathan tries to do something.
Yeah, this is really rough, and you're playing against a lineup that can punish these kind of team fight scenarios, right? As soon as they win a team fight, they're able to take objectives because they have Tiny, they have Dragon Knight. So yeah, this is going to be a tier 2 tower. I wouldn't be surprised if they either keep on pushing or maybe go for Roche. But this lineup, I mean, they haven't even, again, they haven't, the second team fight in a row, they haven't even lost anybody. Not a support, not an offlaner, nothing.
Yeah.
And it looks to be Roshan next, and once the Aegis is available, are you ever really going to kill them? Like, I mean, you can't kill the Tiny once. Are you going to kill them twice? Although, actually, it's probably going to go to the Sniper. Well,
yeah.
Yeah, he's probably the Sniper. Yeah, it has to be the Sniper. But they haven't even gotten to the Sniper at all. In, like, about 25 minutes.
Just put an afterthought, but as it stands, for us anyway, because the other heroes are already doing so well that they didn't necessarily need him to make big plays, which, to be fair, you can't really do on a Sniper, but... the biggest play they could do is farm up and then get super huge, which is exactly what he's doing. But he already has the Maelstrom sitting on top of the net worth chart, now going in towards the MKB.
But yeah, that last fight that also again showed the weakness of this lineup on Leviathan's side. Really, you know, they go for that pick off on the DK. Even if the DK doesn't have BKB, do they have enough damage to actually burst them down before the full rotation comes? Right, they're taking a fight next to a tier 2, they're taking a fight next to a shrine. So unless they're bursting him down, they're not really getting anything in bottom lane hole. BSJ has TP out there.
Well, no more toss and magic immune units.
He's out-farmed by the Wyvern. This Battle Fury Juggernaut is getting out-farmed by the Winter Wyvern. And it's not as if Zephyr has been spending much time in the jungle. It's just, throughout those fights, they're just able to take these big advantages in terms of net worth. And
he's 3, 2, and 13. So part of most of these kills on the side of complexity. And that does start to add up, especially if you don't die as much.
Looks like they're gathering for this bottom tower push. In complexity, they have really strong lineups when they have a really strong lineup when it comes to pushing tower. Tiny DK. They have the sniper from the backline as well. It makes it very difficult to really hold the line. Yeah, you have the ET and the Arc Warden, but is that going to be enough against this lineup?
I'm not sure at this point here. They're trying to do what they can to slow down Chessie, but they can barely make a dent in the south point. Skarta is gone, well, dropping very easily here. Winter's Curse, stolen by Rubik, back onto the Dragon Knight. Bone Raids, Epicenter, like, they're all so freaking tanky now. Just pops the BKB and starts fighting. Starts right-clicking away, not even on tower, but just on heroes. Elden Titan falls, so does Sand King. And this might just be over. They'll get at least 2 sets of racks here.
It looks
he's split pushing top, but I don't think they care, even if he's threatless to tier 3.
They use the epicenter for the DK, but DK just sits there. And honestly, he didn't even need to activate the BKB.
Yeah.
He didn't even need it. It would have barely scratched him, really. This is going to be Mega Creeps, most likely. And not much that Leviathan can do about this.
Oh no, not Akura, not again. Well, at least that survives, but yeah.
has fallen.
Up against Mega Creeps, they don't really have the lineup to fight against that, do they?
Dire's top tower
I mean, I
is
guess
under
Battle
attack.
Fury Jug. They're 27k
Radiant's
behind. Let's be
middle
real
tower
here. This
is
game's
under
over.
attack.
Very much so. It's a bit unfortunate if you're Leviathan, because if that one gank onto the sniper in the jungle works out, it's probably a completely different game, because it swings the momentum in a different direction. You know, it forces the sniper to play more defensively. It gives your Jug an advantage, but instead they're able to turn around, kill the Juggernaut, and suddenly BSJ finds himself in a position where he's a bit underfarmed as well.
God, I think he's dropped an
Radiant's
item
middle tower has fallen.
and picked it up again just before he died. I don't know what that was about. Yeah, the dive in the fountain. Alright, guys. Alright. I'm not dignifying this with comments, just saying. They made them kill the Ancient before they call it GG. But it's all good, it's all good. compLexity Gaming. Game 1 of victory here up against Leviathan. Off to a good start in the series, and of course, compLexity, they have high hopes to actually make it to Genting, and this is the right path. They've been playing very well this game.
They have. They really have. Leviathan, I think, needs to address the laning stage a little bit more. I will say that they did a couple of things right. They protected the Arc Warden, made sure that he had a good time, but they effectively gave way too much to the other two lanes. And it's not even like they protected the Arc Warden, but they didn't even shut down the sniper. So what they did was effectively giving compLexity 3 lanes to farm in with a lineup that kind of wants to play a little bit greedy early on, right? You have a sniper, you have a DK, you have a tiny core. Kind of want to play a little bit greedy, make sure that at least one or two of them have a good early farm, and then, we saw it then snowball from there on out. So I feel like Leviathan in the next game, they should try and play probably a little bit more aggressively in the laning stage. They were a little bit passive, trying to sort of like play around the Arc Warden.
Yep.
Didn't really work out. Again, it could have been a completely different game if that one gank probably turns out differently, because then, tides are turning a little bit. BSJ probably has a better game.
Yep.
But as it stands, he got out-farmed by a Winter Wyvern.
Yeah, that's the thing with this lineup, right? You were mentioning it earlier, like, where's the burst damage going to come from? It's like, alright, you have the initiation, but then you have Epicenter takes a while to channel up. Like, a couple of times, Monkeys Forever got cancelled just before it finished, like, with, like, either DK stun or Winter's Curse. And the similar thing is with the Elder Titan, right? You throw out the Earth Splitter, but it's going to take a while to actually come into effect. A couple of times it worked out, especially against the Dragon Knight, who caught out a couple of times, but...
That's why
it's one of these things where you have to get that off every single time with this kind of lineup to keep the momentum going, make sure to buy enough time for Arc 1 to return into this crazy guy, right? I mean, he had the Midas going in a decent timing. I think he destroyed the mouse. I don't know what that was about.
He had a good game, for the most part, but it's just really difficult to really do anything as the Arc Warden early on, especially with against the lineup that's super tanky as is, right? If it's a completely different game, I mean, we saw yesterday the Arc Warden as well. He had heroes that he could just pick off, right? The Shadow Shaman, for example. There are heroes that he can pick off, but who are you going to instantly kill as an Arc Warden just by yourself? Like Tusk, makes it really difficult with a snowball as well. So it's not easy to just snowball out of control as Garder's Arc Warden here in this game. And I think I don't want to harp too much on the draft, but I am also not a big fan of this Rubik Elder Titan opening. I mentioned it earlier that, if you open with that, it just gives compLexity the opportunity to sort of exploit that in the draft. And they kind of did. They drafted heroes that weren't going to die to that dual support combo anyway. And they knew, well, they can't really just pressure us in the lane as much as, we can potentially. So let's just go with the DK offlane.
Yeah. All right, and with that, gonna take a short break, but we'll be back with game number 2 to see whether compLexity can make the quick 2-0 or whether Leviathan can come back with the power of promo codes. Stay tuned.